And we are back with our next match here, the WCA European Pro Qualifier. In the last game, we saw King Queen go up against Fnatic, and the new Fnatic lineup just destroyed them in this game. And now, of course, well, I personally am actually eager for more. I really want to see how Fnatic is going to fare with this lineup against other opponents, and of course, this is a wish that we are going to get granted later on today. Our next match is another best-of-1 series. It is the game between ROCCAT and their opponent, NaVi. As already mentioned before, NaVi, they lost their tank and also their coach, Whoopi and Breeze, moving over to Fnatic. And in this case, Breeze, who was, of course, a player, Whoopi was acting as a coach here for them. Breeze was replaced by Alex, the Pro G. We're going to find out in this game right now if they can make it to the finals, where they would actually meet Fnatic, and that would be a pretty cool grudge match.
Yep, and I was talking to Schwimpy just before this, and he was like, are you ready to watch the rivalry happen? And I believe Schwimpy seemed very confident. I'm not going to use the exact words that he did say about his victory there, but they seemed very confident. For now, though, we'll talk about this game. We are already into the draft, and starting off, Team ROCCAT had the first ban, and they started off with the Jaina ban.
Jaina being banned, and of course the immediate reaction going into a ban on Zeratul here, as is expected. And wow, these boys are fast. Look at that. Johanna coming into play for ROCCAT immediately. They love the hero, especially Zocco, of course, who is the tank player for them. And NaVi is not wasting any time. Not even a second. They go into Zagara and bam, lock in the Uther right after that. So once again, we have a hero in form of Zagara who has great lane presence here. And on Dragonshy in particular, which is going to be our map, it's really important to push out these lanes so that you have an easier access to the objectives, the shrines, and the dragon statue.
Yep, and we did see a little bit of something at DreamHack and during the Enter the Storm stuff with the Uther, where, for those of you who don't know, it's just a tiny little trick. A Divine Shielded hero cannot be interrupted from taking the Dragon Knight. So, trick, it is a waste of your Divine Shield, but if it's late game and you have like 20-minute Dragon Knight, and that can be the difference between just right-clicking on the core and ending the game, or having to slog through another 10 minutes of fighting over shrines, then you use your Divine Shield and you just go for it.
You definitely do, and also, of course, Uther would be a good setup for a potential melee assassin that we could see later down the road in the draft. But for now, we're having the 2 picks for ROCCAT, and ROCCAT decide that they need damage first of all here. They have probably another healer now in mind going into their 3rd pick, but first of all they said, well, Nazeebo these days is such a great hero, we don't even want to go into Kel'Thas now. We have Nazeebo who puts out similar damage numbers, maybe not in those burst cycles that we are seeing for Kel'Thas, but still an extremely good hero, especially on a map like this, and of course also with a lot of pushing power.
Yep, a lot of pushing power indeed. And there is the Kel'Thas. Lots of extra damage on there, but like we already said, we do have the Uther, so Divine Shield to at least protect against one Flame Strike, but it's not like a Malfurion, not like a Rhaegar, where you get that healing over time to just get rid of all of the AoE damage that's been done.
But it's kind of interesting that they go for both of these mages. We've seen that occasionally, that they are played by the same team, and the numbers that you can get out in a long and drawn-out game are absolutely insane. It's not the sustainable damage that we oftentimes talk about when we're mentioning Vala, but in this case, you have so much damage there that it's going to be difficult for an opponent to engage into this. The bans, of course, now starting, and we're having the next ban here for NaVi, who have the opportunity to either go for a ban on maybe one of the one of the healers, since we didn't see a healer pick for ROCCAT just yet, or they could also think about which kind of utility hero is our opponent going to try and take here. A potential ban would, for example, be the Tacita, since Tacita is a hero that is quite nice to complement the lineup that we're seeing for ROCCAT, and also it works very well against Zagara, which we also see for NaVi.
Yep, that would be a very good choice for them. And NaVi, right now, they are just taking their time. They're into their bonus time pool, and actually quite a significant chunk into it. NaVi, we've spoken about them before, have also been one of those teams that will run a bit more of the unusual composition. Like, for example, at DreamHack, they were the team that, above anyone, in fact, the only team that took the risk on running the Butcher in the slightest. So we saw him a bit every now and again. A lot of teams did pick it up every now and again, but they do already have the Uther, and there's the Malfurion ban. So Lost Vikings, maybe it's a bit of a small map for them, but Malfurion is usually what is picked if you're trying to counter that AoE damage that you get from the Longboat Raid.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things also is that, of course, if they go into Vikings, which is definitely an opportunity for them, then they have the also the chance to just put one of the Vikings into the dragon statue. And there's nothing more annoying than the dragon statue going full YOLO, trying to take down one of the keeps, and you think, okay, at least I'm going to get a hero kill as a reward once that's over. And then the only thing that pops out is Eric, and he's just like, hi, doesn't care about that at all, dies and is back after a few
just
seconds.
runs away with Eric the Swift and heals all the damage. And in the meantime, Olaf and Balog are in top and bot lane, soaking all the XP.
Exactly, so they can definitely be very annoying to deal with. Now we have the ban coming in, though, for the opponent's team, and there's a lot that they can ban out. They could ban out damage, since then they already banned the Jaina. They already have their Kel'Thas and then a Zebo, so they don't really need too much more damage. They can simply say, all right, which kind of damage dealer do we not want to try, or do we not want to go up against? Options, of course, would be a false stat. We could see a ban on Vala, but they decide to go for the melee assassin, as we already said earlier. If you go into an Uther, there's a good chance that you are thinking of running a melee assassin in the game, and ROCCAT doesn't want to risk that.
Yep, the Illidan, definitely the most popular melee assassin, and the Uther, one of the best combos with him. I would also like to go back to this Malfurion ban just quickly, because just crossed my mind that his trait, also one of the amazing reasons to ban him out here, the Innovate, the mana restoring trait, when ROCCAT, all of their damage is from Kael'thas and NaVi, both very heavy mana using mages. Yeah, that's true. And one of the reasons why we oftentimes see mana addict taking on Kael'thas is for exactly that he runs out of mana just so fast. And if you have a Malfurion running with the Kael'thas, you don't really need to do that. You can actually go into the self-sustain on his passive ability, on his trait, and that's quite nice to have. It just adds up over time, and a Malfurion in this case is doing quite a bit of work. As already assumed, we are seeing now the damage coming into play on the side of Navi, and there is the Vala that we mentioned a bit earlier. JPL probably going to play the hero here, whereas as a tank we see again solo at the front line, at least for now, the Anubarak. Yeah, but the Anubarak very, very strong here. We've not been seeing pretty much any Muradin love so far today, but there's a chance that one or both of these teams, in fact, could be going for a double warrior composition. So we could see him poke his head in. Yeah, and we were talking about double warriors. We could actually see that for ROCCAT, for example. They have a very strong backline already. Of course, they still need their healer, and in this case, it's very likely that they are running a Rhaegar, even though they are the only team, I want to say, that sometimes even goes into a Lily even when there's no double ban. But the Rhaegar is the more standard pick, and they go for him. They have a very good area heal in this case. Then later on with the Chain Wave, they have also something to negate burst damage if this is going to become a problem. And for now, the last pick, we could see a Tassadar here. We could see them go into anything, actually. Even the second tank would make sense. Yep, second tank in the form of, say, a Muradin, or people just who are more efficient at holding large areas of people still, like the Arthas. Getting that route into spiders and a flame strike is devastating. Also, one of the reasons why Arthas would be not bad is we've talked about Tassadar being an option to really work against Zagara. Arthas can do that as well. He has his Frozen Tempest aura, which can easily reveal creep tumors, and then you can take those out. So you would suddenly have a very heavy front line with a Johanna and an Arthas, and a great tool to just make sure that Zagara is not getting all that vision that might lead into a kill for Navi thanks to better positioning in the fight. Yep, and one of the other heroes who is still in the open, I agree that Tassadar is still a good choice. Arthas, very viable, but we have missed out on someone who we still picked more than we've usually seen in the last yesterday. We do see the Sylvanas is still open if they want to go for it, and they could seriously put some aggression on this map. And with the other team having a Zagara, Sylvanas is one of those great anti-pushers to help with that. Nazibo kind of fits in, but there's only so many times you can throw spiders, whereas Sylvanas, that Shadow Dagger is on a much lower cooldown and can just freeze away. But they're going with Double Warrior, and they're going with the Tyrael. Yeah, so as we already said, it is an option for them to go Double Warrior here and just say, okay, we want to have the front line. The Tyrael, I think that's kind of interesting, especially since it's also, of course, one of the reasons or one of the choices that you can go for if you expect that your opponent might think about going into Double Warrior. Having a Nuburak and Tyrael jumping in together is always tricky, especially if you're trying to run not only a Nazeebo, but also, of course, the Kael'thas. Suddenly, two of these tanks jumping one of your targets is normally resulting in an instant kill, unless, of course, Rhaegar is there for an ancestral healing in time or is able to at least cleanse out the judgment. But in this case, I'm really wondering if they picked the Tyrael because they said, okay, we want to pick it away from our opponent. We don't want to risk this. We plan to go into a double tank anyways, but let's go for Tyrael so that they can't use him. Or if they really believe that he is even better for them than, for example, an Arthas who would help against Zagara. Well, a Judgment Flame Strike is still one of the most terrifying things in the game. However, I do feel that ROCCAT may be trying to bait me here due to the fact that we did meet up with a couple of the players yesterday, and we were talking about, as I mentioned yesterday, I am a big fan of Sanctification, and I feel I may be being baited, and they're getting my hopes up. NaVi, though, like we were talking about earlier, leaving it till the very last pick.
The Butcher. I'm liking this. This is already going to be cool. But as Tetra already said, like the Tyrael that we see here, not necessarily a hero that goes into Judgment right now. We've seen a lot more Sanctification being used lately, not only when the heroic ability was still bugged. And for them, it's really important to not only pick it away from the opponent, because there could have been a potential Nuborak Tyrael engage. If you have such a squishy backline, you want to make sure that your opponent doesn't have that dive potential. But in this case right now, we could see Sanctification. People have been talking about it, especially the teams.
I've been hoping for so long.
You mentioned it yesterday as well when we were talking to Gerd.
Yeah.
And of course, now with the Butcher in play, it's also kind of interesting. I mean, we've said from the start, if you have an Uther, you can go into that melee assassin. One of the reasons why we saw Illidan banned out, they immediately said, like, all right, if you have the Uther here, we want to make sure that you don't get the Illidan with this, because that risk is just too high. Butcher, on the other hand, a hero, stun works very well against them. They have the Johanna with Condemn, which can be annoying. A Gravity Lapse on, of course, Kalthas is also something that you have to deal with. But still, with that Divine Shield, the Butcher could gain them a lot of momentum in this game.
Yep, and we did see one Butcher come out yesterday and decided to implement the Butcher escape mechanism.
Exactly. I finally know that the Butcher has an escape before level 20 when he has the option for bold. It's called Lamb of the Slaughter. People mistakenly apparently use it to lock heroes down. It's just when the Butcher wants to run away. Kidding, of course, but yeah, that's kind of what the Butcher yesterday ran a lot. It was a French Butcher that we saw.
Yeah, the one time he actually landed the Lamb to the Slaughter in a situation that might have helped, the person he landed it on was Johanna, who immediately used her trait and walked away. So
it was just like, are you kidding me? And went out of there. So yeah, that didn't really work too well for the Butcher. Yeah. Now NaVi, on the other hand, as Tetra said earlier, they are very, very confident today. And let's find out if they can take down ROCCAT to advance to face Fnatic in the winners match, or if we are going to see Fnatic drop down into the losers match, where they would have to face Kinguin. The map is live, and let's jump right into it here on Dragonshire. As we see to the left side of the map, NaVi with Schwimpy on Zagara. We have JPL on the Butcher. Splendor playing Uther, of course. Alex the Pro G replacing Breeze, who joined Fnatic, is playing the tank role here against with the Nuborak. And we have Eternal on Vala. To the right side of the map, it is Team ROCCAT with Zocke on Tyrael, Shadowma on Rhaegar, Chris on Kalthas, Hazob's playing the Nazeebo here, and we're seeing Sport Billy on the second tank. He is playing Johanna.
First thing first, both teams grouping up as 4 and both moving to separate lanes. We have NaVi moving in from the bot lane to the mid lane, trying to scout someone that they can engage on. And the complete opposite coming in from ROCCAT, who went from the mid lane up to the top lane to try and catch someone out as well. They're still waiting here, whereas NaVi, starting to split up a Nuborak, went the very long way round though, not willing to take that risk.
And we already have a couple of talents that we need to talk about here in level 1, but before that happens, let's just focus on the mid lane here. Well, no aggression, the teams are starting to rotate over. The first thing first, we have Victuals taken on level 1 for the Butcher. If you remember the builds that we've seen from Fnatic and also yesterday on the hero, then they all went for the hamstring on level 1 with a reduced cooldown after hit, but here we now have the passive trait enhanced. It's also on the side of Vala, where we're seeing not the multi-shot build, which was very popular with yesterday teams, but today we have the arrow build, which is extremely nice if you're fighting on one of those shrines. If you find yourself in a one-on-one situation, for example, that gives Vala a lot of self-sustain and extra damage. And another talent that we have to pick out here or point out is, of course, the Colossal Totem on level 1. Normally, it is the reduction on the chain heal, and if that happens, then we oftentimes see Shadow Wolf. But with this particular start into the build, it's very likely that Rhaegar will use Feral Heart.
And you mentioned the talents coming out from NaVi here. They're all very sustainy, and I think that makes a lot of sense, seeing as if they can get, for example, the Regen Master stacks up on Nuborak, and then everyone else has to rely on just killing minions and creep, then it's a nice counter to the Kalthas, because they can just disengage. Zagara can wait on her creep, Vala can attack a wall with her punching arrow there, and just get most of her health back, and Butcher just picks up a load of fresh meat.
Butcher is still in the mid lane, trying to get his stacks up here. And up at the top, we are having both Tyrael and Nuborak trying to fight for this shrine. Both of them belong currently to ROCCAT. They are trying to put a lot of pressure onto their opponents here. And so far, they are successful. But it looks like we're going to see level 4 hit a bit faster for NaVi. And that would be great for them to just relieve the pressure and maybe take one of the shrines.
Sportbilly not able to push against this Butcher in the mid lane, has to just chill for the moment. So like you said, not really going to see a Dragon Knight. And finally, NaVi going to be able to take back control of that bottom shrine and really take the pressure off in that mid lane.
Tyrael going into Vampiric Strike on level 4. It's a talent that has been used a bit more often by Soccer playing the hero. In this case, we're having, of course, him on Tyrael again. And it's an interesting talent because it was changed in the last patch. Originally, Vampiric Assault, which has 15% life leech, but the changed version on Zeratul and Tyrael has 25% life leech on the auto attacks. And that's exactly what Soccer is using. Over here, we have Feral Heart taken as already expected. And now both of the shrines in the hands of NaVi.
JPL has a lot of pressure on in this mid lane. However, it is a Johanna with that shield glare can basically deny forever how the Butcher not having any of it. Now going in onto Sportbilly, pushing him back. And he's going to try again, but Sportbilly not having any of it, but he's taking so much damage doing this dance.
I mean, that Butcher is hitting like a truck now.
Yeah, and that's just from the hamstring. He has the increased length of hamstring, so he's basically made into a laning Butcher where he gets some health regen from killing minions, and he has the extra harass so that he can really play well in this lane.
The bot lane is changing now a bit. It's solidly in the hands of the blue team, and NaVi is trying to utilize that. Just go in and push those towers back. Keep in mind that by now we, of course, have all of those mercenary camps also in play, so we could see one of the teams aiming to take one of the siege giants soon. But the fight at the bot lane is starting again. A rotation from NaVi once more against HotS. Chris is using his gravity labs, but no need in this case. They have both of the shrines once again, and they have a solid grasp on that. But at the top lane, it is a switch. Tyrael is switching out with Johanna, as apparently Soccer is having problems dealing with an Uberak.
Soccer now throwing in his Eldritch Might. He's going to be able to delay this again. Inferno was trying to do damage to Soccer to force him to back up, but in the meantime, Sportbilly did grab that top temple and that top shrine, and that will prevent the Dragon Knight going over to NaVi.
Level 7 now on the board, a bit faster for NaVi, and they're going into the brutal strike here for the extra damage after the hamstring. We're of course seeing Cleanse coming out now as well, and Cleanse will be an important talent for ROCCAT too, since Cleanse is amazing against the Butcher. You can cleanse out the onslaught. In this case, actually, Zocke in the mid lane is once again feeling the axe, the Butcher with his cleaver moving in for that. And in the top lane is where we have this tank battle still going on with Alex trying to get the second shrine.
Yep, and the tank battle has rotated through two different tanks through this entire game. Sorry, 3 different tanks through this entire game, just to try and both teams get control of this. And it's gone back and forth the entire time. NaVi still have pretty much full control over the bot lane. Nice blind there from Sportbilly. Trying to micro as best he can, as his harass abilities are on a bit lower cooldown.
Both of the teams are starting to think about a couple of rotations on the map to maybe get a kill in here. But we have, after JPL started to move up to the top lane, an immediate rotation from Zocke to follow him. And as you can see, with the shrines now taken, it's again the Butcher trying to go for the Dragon Knight. Eternal moving in, pushing Shadowmar back. Both of them are already low. Zocke is in a bit of trouble. The Ruthless Onslaught is already there. The kill against Tyrael. They don't get the Dragon Knight, but they get the kill. And now they have a 13-second window to maybe claim the objective.
Yep, Cleanse not coming down quick enough for that Tyrael to escape. He was able to clear the minion wave though, but like you said, they have that window now, and we are seeing NaVi take control of both shrines. Dubrak with a knock-up on Johanna, allowing him to grab this before Johanna can contest it. And JPL, there's no one here this time. Hasselhoff's coming in, but he's going to be too late. And the first Dragon Knight of the game goes over to NaVi, and Hasselhoff takes a lot of damage from Infernal.
The Butcher trades in the cleaver for a battle axe and moves in to take down the towers here. 2 of the heroes are trying to stop him, but we have a rotation to the bottom lane where 3 heroes are still pushing in the wall. The first tower down, second one being attacked, and the experience lead for NaVi is solid at this point. Nearly an entire level ahead, and of course with the heroic ability coming down in just a second, they have a solid lead in the game now and a window of opportunity where they can take down even more structures of their opponent's team.
Yep, and here are those level 10s. We have the Furnace Blast coming in from the Butcher. It's almost definitely going to be the Devouring Maw from Zagara, so we don't need to worry about that. Web Blast from the Anubrak, Strafe from Valor, and seeing as we do have the Strafe and the Butcher, it's almost 100% the Divine Shield, and there it is. Yeah,
Divine Shield is taken, Web Blast is there, a lot of skills now they can section off heroes, and especially if you actually go in with a Butcher and before that an Anubrak dives in and Web Blasts the healer, then there can be no cleanse, and that is absolutely so important. Here comes the Ruthless Onslaught, he goes in! The cleanse in the last second. Still gets hit here though, but yeah, JPL definitely showing now that aggression, and Soccer seems impressed.
Yeah, the cleanse did not block the stun, but it allowed Soccer to back up out of there, and Soccer, like you said, seemed very impressed. Took a lot of damage from that Furnace Blast there.
Yeah, and moved away immediately. Like, a charging Butcher can be quite scary. Of course, if you have the good setup here and you can work against it and maybe burst him down, then it's all right.
Tyrell's not picked as heroic. I'm being trolled. It's going to be Judgment. It's going to be Judgment. I'm going to be sad, but they're making me hope.
Yeah, they're giving you hope and then they're going to take it away. But for now, they haven't really picked what they're going to go for. Sanctification or Judgment, that's the question here. We've been seeing especially Gerd talk about Sanctification and trying to tease Thatcher yesterday a little bit when the meta was discussed. For now, they didn't pick it. And we are seeing also at the bot lane those camps taken. This is a really nice camp combination that they have now. Siege Giant camp and also the Bruiser camp already taken, and they're trying to push in the fort.
Yeah, NaVi pushing far forward with this as they can. There is, they said, a Siege Giant camp on the side of ROCCAT here to try and defend. Rhaegar trying to keep it healed, but it gets taken down by the Phoenix. The Flame Strike and the Phoenix, though, are doing a pretty good job of dealing with this. Sorry, Phoenix was on the defensive side. Yeah,
at this point, they actually did a really good job with using the Phoenix and also, of course, then the Flame Strike, all that AoE that they have on the Zebo as well, to make sure that this push is not doing as much as he could have. Nearly level 13 now, and that extra talent would give a significant advantage to NaVi once again. ROCCAT is fighting hard here to claw their way back into the game, but they are starting to fall a bit behind.
Yeah, they're trying to creep forward right now. Like you said, they don't want to be falling behind. Level 13 talents very soon going to be available for NaVi. There's the aggression coming in from ROCCAT. They're getting on to Shwimpy here. Shwimpy gets Divine Shielded, and he will get out. There's the Maw. And it is Sanctification taken by Tyrael. He is in this Maw with the Nazibo. Nazibo getting dropped very low. He is trying to run around. Web Blast has been used. Wow, Kael'thas getting in the Kael'thas backline hard there. Tyrael, do not want to teleport to there, Tyrael. He teleports into the Butcher, gets taken down. Down goes the Rhaegar as well.
Wow, he was just waiting for him. He saw that
teleport. I dare you.
Dare you. You come in here and you're gonna die. But that kill against Kael'thas already, even without the Divine Shield, he just rushed in. He knew that there was no chance anymore, and he got the kill easily at that. JPL with another ruthless onslaught. Sport Billy.
He does block it with the Iron Skin, but he is still outnumbered. Trying to micro using a Nubarak to body block away JPL, but now JPL got a good angle on him. He is in full retreat, but JPL gets the slow. In comes Chris, though. The Gravity Lapse does land on the Butcher, but he's standing right next to the Butcher.
And there's the Dragonite.
Yeah, there we go. Dragonite available for NaVi. They're going to push down the mid lane with that, and that is a lot of danger.
That was the only thing that Johanna was trying to do. Hold that Shrine up at the top lane for long enough so that the rest of the team could join up with Johanna and make sure that there was no Dragonite against them. But with a double tank moving in to take down Johanna and force her off the Shrine, we had in the mid lane Eternal grabbing that DK. He goes in with a quick punt. And of course, at the top and the bot lane, we still see pressure, especially since Zagara here, played by Shrimpy, can put additional damage against those two towers.
Yeah, we are seeing ROCCAT trying to deal with this as much as possible. Like you said, they are now even on talents. Not for long, because NaVi are about halfway through the level 15s. We'll be getting their level 16s very soon. But until then, ROCCAT just looking to deal with this Dragonite, and if they can, get a pick Kael'thas in this bot lane against Zagara, looking to maybe just do any damage he can.
We have very, very passive talents on the side of NaVi, going into a double spell shield and also into the Chitinous plating for an Uberak, making sure that later on in the game, that damage that we're going to see from not only Kael'thas, but then also Nazeebo is at least to a certain extent going to be mitigated. We have Crave Flash for the Butcher, wants to go for the Butcher's Brand, and actually with that extra speed that he has there, it's going to be so easy for him to chase down targets and of course also keep that self-heal up as they now pick even the next level up.
Yep, and talent-wise, we did have the Crave Flesh, like you said, from the Butcher, 30% movement speed, and he has now taken the Enrage talent, so that when he drops below 50% health, he gains 40% attack speed and gets basically a relentless Sport Billy. Getting body blocked here. Who needs CC when you have a Nubarak's fat body? The Ancestral Healing, though, will keep him alive, and now Nubarak's a bit out of position, but that huge shield he has from his Chitinous plating now, giving him no troubles at all.
Yeah, and we have JPL, by the way, like the Billy Mount on the Butcher.
Yep.
Really. All right, using the Billy Mount here, and Chris is moving out of the game.
Please.
JPL is just waiting there. He wants his meat.
Wait for it. He's being patient. There's no one here with him. I don't know what he's waiting for.
Well, Chris is very, very careful now and moves back. But the mid lane being attacked once again. Here comes the Butcher moving in with the rest of the team up at the top lane. We still have a Nubarak. But in the mid lane, the fort goes down as JPL and Shrimpy take it out. A 2-level lead for Navi still. And that extra talent is giving them such a huge presence on the map now.
Yeah, they're trying to just take control of as much as possible, like you said, with the map presence they have. And the map control, if they wanted to, they could probably move down to the 6 o'clock position and take that Bruiser camp down there. If
you're in a situation where you still have your blood for blood where your opponent doesn't, that's an extra healing potion. There's Benediction for the extra heal. There's also Enraged. They need that 16 talent. Before that, they just simply cannot fight a team fight. They might be able to pick off an individual hero, but that's it. So the passive times for ROCCAT, they are maybe over now because they have that 16 talent. And after we already saw on level 1 the Colossal Totem taken. It wasn't that hard. We have on 60 now the Earthgrass Totem, which can lock especially the Butcher into place, but they're going for it again. Also Holy Ground, which is being used a lot these days. All initiated by Shat from Huron team, claiming a boss and stealing that away from a 5-man setup. But since then, we've seen the talent a lot, and it's actually worked for a lot of people just trying to zone out opponents.
Yeah, and ROCCAT sticking as a 5 here, just putting pressure on as they can, going onto Nubrak, but Nubrak will be fine here. However, while this is happening, Valor was in the bot lane with Zagara. Zagara staying in the bot lane, Valor moving to the mid lane, Butcher staying in the top lane. This time Valor's actually on her way to the top lane. She runs into Tyrael, and they just sort of run past each other.
Yeah, run past each other because Tyrael has his eyes set on somebody else.
Oh,
but up here, charges in the Furnace Blast. Iceblock is blocking it. Very well done by HotS here. But he is even rooting himself. He's circling himself with the zombies, but he's not going to get away here. Or is he? HotS is trying to escape the Butcher in
He needs help. Heal!
Heal! Oh my god, HotS!
And the Blessed Shield! The shield stunning on the team. In comes Butcher again! He does get the Johanna. HotS has a punching arrow on him. There is the multi-shot from Valor. There's the slow from JPL. And it looks like he's finally going to pick up HotS.
What a play there by HotS. Navi, they get the kills in the end after all. Nazebo and Johanna are down, but HotS as first, blocking the damage of the Furnace with a quick ice block, then surrounding himself with a wall of zombies to make sure that nobody can really get at him, moving around and escaping, but then in the end, the hunt is just like too strong. Everybody moving in there. Tyrael taking them out. In this case, it's just another Dragonite for Navi. They're moving in level 18, nearly 19 versus 16, and wow, they are currently in such a dominant spot. 7 kills against 0.
Yep, and they are pushing in as hard as they can. And I'm really unsure about that last fight by ROCCAT. They had Tyrael. They're currently probably best sustainability in the game in the form of sacrification, roamed down to the mid lane, and he showed because he went past Valor, and that's instantly when Team Navi decided to engage, when Tyrael was already gone.
Exactly, he was gone and he went down, and in this case now Valor, they're having maybe a first fight with him actually in the battle. Eternal already eating the damage of the Ignite here. And the Living Bomb doing some work, but up at the top lane, guess who? Yes, it's the Dragonite, JPL, having his eyes set on another fort.
Yep, and he is going to be able to get this quite easily. He's about to run out of Dragonite health, but for the remainder of Dragonite, he doesn't have much duration left on that. Actually, he's not going to finish that off at all. He's going to back up because he doesn't want to get killed when he comes out of this Dragonite.
Yeah, there's just like too many heroes rotating up to the top lane. He's going to get away here. Soccer is at this point just really hoping for a judgment, but of course JPL wasn't even out of this yet.
Also, he doesn't have judgment.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Hoping for a judgment. He doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Has Sanctification, and that is not a gap closer. Sport Billy here is moving in with another Condemn to de-push the waves, and we have Soccer aiming for a camp. The problem is that the entire Navi setup is here, and they have level 20. It's a 2-level lead for them. A double Bolt of the Storm, the Butcher picking that up immediately. We could see no redemption on the side of Uther, and I guess Zagara is very likely to add another Bolt of the Storm to the talent list.
Yeah, ROCCAT this entire game have been looking for a team fight, and they haven't been able to get a single proper team fight this entire game. They've always been Navi dictating the fights, choosing the engagements when they have a numbers advantage, when they have an area advantage, or just getting huge bursts on Kayle Pass in the backline before heroics in that case by ROCCAT were even available.
Yeah, in this case of course also a massive talent advantage. They moved back again after taking down the keep. I mean, there's nothing else to gain there. If you don't want to go for the core, you just move back. You have several camps on the map that you can take here. This is the safe play that NaVi is showing us currently. They took down the keep, they rotate through the map, they start to claim the first camp here. We have the Butcher already busy at the Siege Giant camp just above them, so just in range in case he's being engaged upon. And then they can just move up to the top, take another camp, and then carry all of that pressure to one of those remaining keeps and take down keep number 2.
Exactly, NaVi moving very aggressively towards that Bruiser camp. Hungry Arrow keeping it leashed, actually, and they're going to be able to grab this before it finishes, leashing back to full health again and steal it. Soccer could come in with the Holy Ground here to steal it, but he does not want to.
Yeah, Soccer is standing there, and he's tempted, but he knows, of course, that with the level 20 advantage that we're seeing for NaVi, there's no way for him really to make a play. If he goes in, even if he steals the camp away, what's it going to do? He's going to die then. He might be able to steal the camp away with a quick Holy Ground, as we've seen Shat do against Kinguin in just a recent game. Not here at this competition, though, which is always nice, but in that case, it was a boss that he stole, and a boss is worth a tiny little bit more than a Bruiser camp.
Little bit. This is a map, however, without any bosses, so I guess Bruiser camps move up in priority, but not enough to dive in and give your life for them.
Exactly.
Oh, they're moving in as a team this time, ROCCAT. This actually looks like a much better angle than they've had so far. Sportbelly and Soccer staying near Hasselhoffs, and Chris staying so far back that he's on the that he's in a different lane. Yeah,
and well, it's talking about them staying back. The Dragon Knight is going to be taken again. Nice rotation there, good positioning. Alex the Pro G, aka Alex the Frog, is currently moving down. They want to go for core. They're saying like, why would we even go for another keep here? We have an opportunity with the Dragon Knight to go straight for the core at the top lane. There's still a massive Bruiser camp wave going for the wall, and at this point, Alex is making his way over towards the core. Sportbilly a bit far out here as Alex starts to hammer down on the main structure.
Yeah, there is a Phoenix on him. Strafe coming in, does most of the damage to Sportbelly. Butcher is in there as well. There's the engagement. He's going on to Chris in the backline. Ancestral instantly onto him, trying to keep him alive. Socket trying to do as much as he can. Dragon Knight has expired. Flame Strike lands on no one, and we're seeing the entirety of NaVi trying to focus down his core. Butcher's at pretty much full health. Soccer's trying to take down the Anubrak here. Web Blast is used. The Butcher gets Divine Shield, and then he can basically solo this. He will burst down the core. Chris doing as much damage as he can, and that is GG. And NaVi take game number 1.
Only 2 of the heroes are still alive at the end. NaVi victorious here. They claim the game, and therefore, of course, they advance to the winners match. It is still a best-of-1 series that we have here in the first round, but in the winners match, it will be a best-of-3, and that's where we are going to see the match between NaVi and Fnatic. Fnatic stole 2 of the players away from NaVi, and NaVi was a little bit upset about this, so they already said, we are going to take you guys down. I love this. There's so much dynamic right now in this game. And in the losers match, we have a similar situation. We have 2 German teams going up against each other there.
Exactly. So we are in the beautiful studio in a beautiful Berlin, Germany. So the production studio giving us the thumbs up there. So there may be a little bit of bias, and obviously a tiny little bit of bias due to the fact it is the home country of my lovely co-caster here.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true, but we have both of the German teams actually in the losers match, so yeah, that doesn't help us too much.
Well, at least one of them has to win.
Yeah.
Germany will win the next match. We can guarantee that.
Yeah, we're going to jump into the losers match first, if I'm not mistaken. So, guys, after a short break, we are going to come back with the losers match. It is going to be ROCCAT versus Kinguin, and keep in mind that this is also going to be a best-of-3 series. Then later on, it is Fnatic versus NaVi, but we will even have a third match for you. The loser of the winners match and the winner of the losers match are going to go up against each other to determine the second spot for the team who moves on to the finals at Gamescom. So, guys, we'll be back after just a short break with the WCA EU Pro Qualifier, and then we're going to have a best-of-3 series between 2 German teams, so stay tuned. We'll be back in just a bit.